Ah yes, it's New Year. A time of looking back on all the wonderful things that happened throughout the year. A time for your New Year's resolutions. Go learn a new language, go to the gym, eat healthy and drop it all in 2 weeks. And also a time for celebrations and traditions. Most people celebrate it with fireworks and alcohol, but there are some that have different traditions during New Year. Like the Spanish that eat 12 grapes before the start of the new year for good luck, or the Danes that break plates on New Year's Eve. Which is all nice and cute I guess, but it seems a little bit too safe for my liking. However, there is one tradition in Holland that back in 2019-2020 almost burned down a city of 55,000 people. These big fires, they're not even a Dutch tradition. It's a rivalry between two towns, Scheveningen and Duindorp, to see who can make the biggest bonfire for New Year. These two towns make in the last week of the year enormous towers out of pellets, to then light them on fire for midnight of the new year. This rivalry between these two villages, it's been going on for a while now. Since the 1980s, it's been a battle to see who can have the biggest fire. And just like mukbang YouTubers, over the years it became bigger and more dangerous.
Don't do that!
It all started innocent enough, throw some old Christmas trees on a pile and light it on fire. But when that reached its limits, they started to pile pellets. And since the year that they started to pile pellets, the goals have been very simple. Make it higher than last year and beat the other town in height. In 2015 it already escalated to the point that Scheveningen had the biggest bonfire ever lit. A bonfire of 8,695 cubic meters or around 300,000 cubic feet of fire. For this the pellets were stacked 33 meters high or around 108 feet, and that was big enough for a Guinness Book World Record.
Wow.
The heat from this bonfire was so great that small fire tornadoes even appeared. And nobody looked at that and went, wait a minute, this might be a little bit on the dangerous side. I mean, we already got the record, maybe we should just call it a day. Well, apparently not, because the following year, the towers became even bigger. Please behave, don't make the obvious joke, I know which picture I put on here. Please guys, just behave, don't make the obvious joke. Now till this point, the fires were lit from the bottom of the pile, so when the bottom started to burn, the tower would fall down. Which was a bit of a safety concern, because you could never really predict which way the tower was gonna fall. So the following years, they decided to light it from the top, that it would burn a little bit more like a candle, and it could be a little bit more controlled which way it would fall, if it would fall at all. And that is quite an important detail for later on in the video, so keep that in mind. Anyway, the towers became bigger and bigger without any problems, until the end of 2019. Just like every year, a week before the new year, Duindorp and Scheveningen started to work on their portals to hell. And like every year, they had some agreements with the local government on how high they could build. Now, the people of Scheveningen, they found a loophole. Every day an inspector would come to see if the maximum height or volume was already reached. If the tower that they were building already reached the maximum amount of height, it would mean that they couldn't get any more pallets to build further. They could finish the pallets that were still laying around, but when those were finished, they had to stop building. Now some people looked at this and thought to themselves, well, if we just don't build that fast, and we just stockpile as many pallets as possible, that would mean that we will be able to build even higher.
Delightfully devilish, Seymour.
And credit where credit is due, this was probably not easy to pull off. You cannot work too slow because you only have 7 days to complete the tower, but you can also not work too fast because otherwise your plan is not gonna work. And oh boy, did this plan work. The tower that Scheveningen built was 20 by 20 wide, like they agreed with the government. However, it was 48 meters or 157 feet high, even though the maximum height was 35 meters or 114 feet. And on New Year's Eve, this monstrosity was lit in front of thousands of people. Unlike other years, the fire spread a lot faster than expected. Fire tornadoes blew burning pieces of wood up in the air and the embers went straight to the city of Scheveningen. In only a few short minutes, the embers rained down on the houses, cars and people that were watching the spectacle. Everything that was somewhat close to the bonfire started to burn almost immediately. Of course, there were a few firefighters present in case that things escalated, but nobody could have expected this situation. When the firefighters that were already there called for backup, the fire department asked them one simple question. Well, what is burning? Their response was quite simple. Everything. The fire department thought this was probably a little bit of an over-exaggeration, So they sent 2 normal fire trucks and 1 fire truck with an extended ladder, which is the normal thing to send when there's a severe house fire. It didn't take long to notice that this was not an over-exaggeration and more backup was called immediately. At this point, putting out the bonfire wasn't really an option anymore. I mean, what are you gonna do against a fire this big? Pick it up and move it somewhere else? So yeah, the only thing they could really do was prevent the city from burning by spraying down the houses with water and getting the people off the street as fast as possible. I mean, just look at this hell right here, like there's nothing else you can do than that. Now by some miracle, not a single house was lost to the fire. That doesn't mean there was no damage done because of the fire. Bikes and cars burned out, and even a snack bar burned down. And all the water that was poured on the people's houses to prevent the fire also caused a lot of water damage. But it definitely could have ended a lot worse than that. Thanks to the fast actions of the fire department, the damage was minimal. In total, the fire cost around €1 million of damages. So, what happened? What went wrong? Well, a few things. Remember that they light these fires from the top? Like an oversized candle? They did this by putting barrels of flammable liquids on top of the tower. And one of these burning barrels fell down, lighting the bottom half of this tower on fire. And because of that, the tower was burning on 2 sides, from the bottom and from the top, creating a lot more heat. There was also a lot of wind that day, which made the fire spread a lot faster. And this wind was also blowing towards the town, so all the fire that was pulled up in the air was sent their way. So all of that, the burning barrel that fell, the wind, and even the height of this tower, it all worked together to make this disaster happen. If any of these things didn't happen, if there was no wind that day, or if that barrel didn't fall, or if they just didn't make it so ridiculously high, it wouldn't have been such a disaster. Afterwards, there were investigations done, reports were written, and people just moved on with their lives. But this year will be the first year since 2019 that Scheveningen will have a big bonfire again on the beach. And hopefully this time it will be a little bit lower without any disasters. Thank you for watching till the end. If you did like this content, then please give it a like or a comment, it really helps me out. And more content is soon to come, so if you want to see that, then please subscribe.